What's up, everyone? My channel. I'm DJ, aka Token Black Guy. And for the first time, hit that like button, subscribe button. So I just did my review for the season finale of The Last of Us. Make sure you check that out. Put a linky link right here to that. But yeah, we're going to watch the new Rockstars breakdown for the final episode with Mr. Eric Voss. Like I said in my review, I really enjoyed this show. Every episode was good. I gave my critiques. There's some little things I can nitpick, but overall, I think the show was a good solid 9 for the most part. Really enjoyed it. Can't wait for season 2. So let's check out the stuff that we missed in this episode, the Easter eggs and stuff like that, and a little breakdown of the episode with Mr. Eric Voss of New Rockstar. Make sure you go to the channel and like and subscribe. And here we go. Oh, that's why I have it.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of The Last of Us Episode 9, the finale, Look for the Light, an episode title that bookends the title of Episode 1, When You're Lost in the Darkness, completing the Firefly catchphrase, when you're lost in the darkness, look for the light, which is ironic considering Joel does the worst possible thing to the Firefly cause.
My man went on a rampage.
Shot by shot for the details you missed, references to the game, some interesting changes they made from the game, and whether Joel made the right choice here. Okay, the episode opens with a very pregnant Anna. This is Ellie's mother, and she's played by Ashley Johnson, who played Ellie for the game.
I loved her in Firefly. I loved her
roles,
in...
including the waitress Captain America flirted with in a deleted subplot in the 2012 Avengers film, and her first role as Chrissy Seaver on Growing Pains, and her most critical of roles on Critical Role on YouTube. She's awesome. Now,
and she plays
Anna. She's
the
only
girl in
Vox
Machina too.
Said she promised Ellie's mother
she'd
take care
Amazon
of her.
Prime.
Also, there's no father depicted here. It leaves the full circumstances of Ellie's conception a bit of a mystery, as it is in the games. And also, I think we'd all struggle seeing a father figure who's not Joel. But this image of a lone, vulnerable woman running through nature is kind of a horror archetype, something that we see in Evil Dead, and we actually saw a version of it here in this series with the infected kid wandering through the woods outside Boston in episode 1. You could argue the same woods that Anna is now running through. This endows Ellie's origin with a bit of divine mystery, like the single mother of Moses sending her baby down the Nile to one day be a savior. The name Ellie draws its root from the Hebrew El, meaning God. Anna calls out to other Fireflies she hopes will be in the house, showing that she fled here hoping that she would find Firefly backup. She was lost in the darkness and looked for the light, and she found no light. This episode is really priming us to not feel very optimistic for Firefly redemption. Ellie hides in a room that was clearly a kid's bedroom. The curtains have cartoon vehicles and traffic signs, but while this may have been a nursery, this will also be her tomb. She pulls out the switchblade, the one later carried by Ellie, but the pain is so severe she drops it right as the runner is pounding on this door. And it is truly frightening to see this runner crawling on all fours at top speed, like a wolf. It actually recalls a charge made by Mama in Mama. Anna manages to stab this runner in the neck, but even after the final stab, you can see cordyceps mouth tendrils reaching out
so nasty.
You grasp. And since Johnson did voice and do all the motion for Ellie in the game, when she cries here, we are hearing the voice of Ellie, which just makes for an interesting mix with
it was weird, kind of hearing Ellie,
crying. Anna notices the baby on the floor and then notices the bite on her leg. So even she's not really sure whether the baby was born before the bite, and she rushes to cut the umbilical cord, and as soon as she cuts it, now the baby stops crying. Now, the exact timing of this is left off camera, which is important. And you know what? Let's all acknowledge that we are in uncharted waters when it comes to fictional infections and prenatal health. We don't know for sure if the cordyceps from a leg bite could affect an actively crowning fetus in some unique way to make the baby immune.
Yeah, how fast would it spread?
Was a result of an antibody rapidly forming at the moment of birth. But normally, newborns' immune systems aren't yet fully developed. So you could say it's possible that Ellie, since conception, had a genetic condition, and this was really just her first test. Then again, later, Marley says that the doctor thinks Ellie has had cordyceps since birth, and that the cordyceps she has produces a chemical messenger to make cordyceps think she's cordyceps too. But there remain some confusing aspects about this that we'll talk about later. Anna
what's the science behind that?
I got you. Exactly what Joel tells his baby girl at the end of episode 8. Now, it is interesting how this flashback is bisected by the episode's opening credits, as opposed to having the whole flashback contained within the cold open and then have the credits. This structural choice results in the fungal outgrowth of the opening credit imagery being framed as an inner process happening within Ellie and Anna's bodies. So when this fungus forms a human face, as it does every episode, we now see it as the face of Anna. And when there are two figures left, whereas every episode before we've seen them as Joel and Ellie, now we can look at them as a mother and a daughter. For every step Ellie has taken, her mother has been there with her. And both of them have this tragic fungal link. So when Marley and finds Anna. Anna has the knife to her throat. She's ready to kill herself the moment she begins to feel herself turning. She says she didn't want to nurse the baby, and that's because nursing mom's milk has antibodies that helps newborns' immune systems form. She didn't want any kind of fluid exchange. Anna insists that she cut the cord before she was bitten, but in truth, she does not know. She is lying to Marlene, just as Joel will lie to Ellie about the fireflies at the end of the episode. Therefore, this episode opens and closes with a lie, and not even noble lies told in the interests of all society, but lies really told out of self-serving love. This lie will haunt Ellie like a curse, as her caretakers lie to keep her from getting killed. Baby Ellie cries at the sound of the gunshot that kills Anna, and even though there's no way Ellie could remember this today, we cut from these newborn cries to Ellie meditating now, as if deep down she knows the cost of these lies. The cost of lies is actually the theme of Craig Mazin's past amazing HBO series, Chernobyl. What is the cost of lies?
Good show. I said in my last review. Good show.
Pilot, actually. And you can see that theme now influencing Mazin's work on The Last of Us, as he and Neil Druckmann have explored another version of that, what they have called the danger of unconditional love. When you love someone so absolutely that you defy the greater societal good.
Exactly.
Because love, while often seen as a wonderful, redeeming thing in fiction, can also be a blinding, toxic force.
That is so true.
City, Joel calls to Ellie a few times, but she zones out. On your way into Salt Lake City in the game, Ellie is similarly a bit spacey. She doesn't always reply to Joel when he talks to her, and I love how they adapted that here. Joel has found a can of ravioli Chef Boyardee, which is what they wolfed down while camping in episode 4.
Well, that last 20 years,
I always wonder. From this RV, which is less depressing than the photo in the game you find with "Forgive Us" written on the back. We're really seeing Joel starting to psychologically nest. He tells Ellie he saw a guitar in the RV, and as in the game, he tells her he wants to teach her how to play. We saw a guitar in the background of his home back in episode 1, and Ellie playing the guitar plays a big role in part 2 of the game. The building they pass through has red tarps hanging over the scaffolding, making a foreboding vibe when Joel is chasing Ellie that gets resolved nicely with the giraffes. It actually goes down the same way in the games. Ellie leaves Joel hanging with the ladder, and he keeps trying to catch up to her so they both can get to an opening and see the passing
I'm so glad I did that scene.
This season has actually teased giraffes in a few places. There's a stuffed giraffe on the ground as Joel, Tess, and Ellie left Boston in episode 2. There's a giraffe poster on the wall of that teenage girl's bedroom back in Jackson. And fun fact about giraffes, they don't have larynxes, no voice boxes. So when they scream, nothing comes out. And the music in this section is such a sweet relief. It's the same string music that played over Bill and Frank's last day in Lincoln in episode 3.
Episode 3 in my review.
But unlike the game, they actually feed the giraffe here, making this moment feel like that sweet, calm between the storms beat in Jurassic Park, when a reluctant father figure Dr. Grant and those kids feed a Brachiosaurus. Joel and Ellie gaze out over the baseball field, and Ellie says, "You can't deny that view," calling back a similar moment when they were looking out over the city of Boston in episode 2. Joel offers Ellie a chance to turn back, but Ellie says they have to go through with it, that it can't all be for nothing, which sets up Joel's ultimate choice to be that much more heartbreaking, because he is robbing her of the possibility of their journey having a real impact on the world, or making Sam's death matter. The last hit, they find an army triage camp where Joel went to get treated for the bullet wound that they mentioned back in episode 3, some mystery man who shot and missed, whom Joel now reveals as himself. In the game, Joel considered suicide after Sarah died, but here he actually attempted it. Similarly, we should note, as Ellie's biological mother, Anna, with the knife, nearly killing herself. The danger of unconditional love. All this time, Joel has had that scar on his temple, and Ellie has had the burn scar over her eyebrow from some past incident she and Riley referred to that happened at a 7-Eleven. Joel says that when he went to pull the trigger, he flinched and still doesn't know why. And it might be because, deep down, he knew that there was someone out there he would love just as much. They read more puns from Will Livingston's No Pun Intended. People are making apocalypse jokes like there's no tomorrow.
That was a good one.
It's not too soon. It's just topical. But the third joke is, what did the green grape say to the purple grape? Breathe, you idiot. And it's here that they get hit with the stun grenade from the Fireflies, which is a major change from the game. There, Joel and Ellie have a much more extended sequence where they go under the tunnels, they run into multiple bloaters, and they get caught in a dangerous rush of water that Ellie almost drowns in, because remember, she cannot swim, so that Joel has to perform
why they had that to it?
The Fireflies knock
this is why I thought the episode should have been longer. That kind of stuff cut out could have been so much more that episode.
In the game. And Joel wakes up to Marlene, the Queen of Hearts herself in our Wonderland. She explains that Ellie's cordyceps grows in her brain, that Ellie has had it since birth, they think, and that it sends a chemical messenger to tell other cordyceps that she is cordyceps too. Now, the issue with this is, even though that bite that Ellie got in the mall never grew past her arm, that she can receive bites and not get further infected, other infected clickers and runners and bloaters have still looked at Ellie as a target to bite. She still smells like fresh meat to external cordyceps. She doesn't have that kind of hive mind effect that the infected had with Tess. So that chemical messenger may be real, but it only exists within Ellie's body. It doesn't extend to other infected who will still rip her apart. So this chemical messenger would be kind of a cure, but really just a half measure. All it would do is make it so that a bite wouldn't turn you, which is valuable, but you would still have all these runners and clickers and floaters trying to rip your head off. I just think this gives a bit more of a reason for Joel to call bullshit on this procedure. Would it make that much of a difference to just inoculate a bunch of people if there's still millions of clickers running around? The world is probably a bit too far gone to really turn the tide. But either way, this ethical dilemma, not trusting
it could work. It'll stop
it
from being spread
really
more,
but
but
from the beginning.
you
That
still got to start
1960s
hunting
talk
them.
show where the leading epidemiology failed to prevent this, Fedra killing a kid for Joel to burn, Ellie not trusting her Fedra education, where her
about
teachers
World
would
War
refuse
Z,
to
like when they
admit
got
the history of how they let the world go to shit.
antivirus or
Still
whatever,
thinking the government, we're all
they could walk right up to
Nazis.
the infected, not have nothing
executing
happen.
Kansas City's doctor in cold blood. They
Cat
all
Queen,
now
that's
live
her
in a
name.
world where science and medicine have failed humanity epically. So short-term needs have taken the higher priority. Joel is marched out, but he stops to take note of the floor map and spots that pediatrics and pediatric surgery are on level 6. So Joel kills the guards and methodically goes to town on
he went on a
Fireflies.
rampage.
Now, the game, this is really the final challenge, and it's hard as hell. You have to do a mixture of sneaking around and misdirection and perfectly timed headshots to get past all the Fireflies. You gotta pick your battles. Some are worth just sneaking past and not killing. And as you are playing this, you just feel like a horrible person. You're an active shooter with an objective to stop the world's possible salvation. So this sequence is shot not as a thrilling action sequence, but really just a cold-hearted line of executions where the gunfire and action sounds are pushed in the background. And a dark
kind
version
of muffled.
the main
I like
show's
that.
theme plays over it all, and we see each shell hit the ground. We are taking account of every person Joel kills, including one guy who surrenders and Joel kills anyway. At one point, we see Joel switching to an assault rifle. This is something that happens about halfway through this stage of the game, and it definitely gives you a leg up. And Joel makes it all the way to pediatrics, and he passes a mural of an elephant and a monkey. And on the other side of the wall, it's harder to see in Joel's periphery, but a giraffe. That silent, gentle giant that represented Joel's peaceful nesting with Ellie at this moment means nothing to him. There is no peace in his heart. As in the game, Joel finds Ellie on that operating table with a doctor and 2 nurses, and Joel executes the doctor and takes Ellie. And the camera stays on this dead surgeon for a moment. This ain't an accident. It sets up things to come. More on this in spoiler corner. But carrying Ellie to the elevator in the game is also a pretty big challenge, as you have to sprint past the gunfire while not being able to shoot back because Ellie's in your arms. Joel runs into Marlene in the parking garage, who in this version I thought was interesting, left out the threat that Ellie could get raped by raiders in the future. But what we saw with David last episode was pretty extreme. But smartly, they leave in one of my favorite structural choices from the game. We cut from Joel considering Marlene's points directly to Joel driving, looking like he's alone in the car because Ellie's not in the front seat with him. And there is this look of grief on his face. And for a moment, we think he is alone and he left Ellie back at the hospital. But a moment later, we see Ellie shifting in the back seat and we realize he's stuck to his guns. And what Pedro Pascal does here is so good. He closes his eyes and he shakes his head slightly, making us think that he just made a terrible, terrible mistake. And for a second, we really do think, did he just leave Ellie behind? But no, now we realize his anguish that he's feeling is actually guilt for making the selfish decision to save Ellie at the expense of the whole world. Like Anna lying to Marlene about the timing of Ellie's birth in the opening.
Good acting for the whole series.
He says the Fireflies doctors had failed to derive a cure from dozens of immune people.
The doctors, they couldn't make any of it work. They've stopped looking for a cure.
Yeah, I love how the bang of Joel shooting Marlene interrupts the flow of Joel's sentence now. We see how Joel did not give Marlene even a chance.
You've just come after her.
Yeah, Joel knows that to leave anyone left behind from Salt Lake City is going to be creating an enemy who will come back for Ellie and himself. They return to Wyoming, and as they take their final hike toward Jackson, Joel finally begins to talk about Sarah, something he never allowed himself to do in front of Ellie, and it's because he can imagine Ellie and Sarah being friends and making each other laugh. And as in the game, in this final moment, Ellie paces in frustration, reveals what really happened when she was bitten, how she was with her best friend Riley, and she has carried that guilt with her, along with the deaths of Tess and Sam. Joel says that's not on her, but Ellie cuts him off, saying,
"Swear to me that everything you said about the Fireflies is true."
I swear.
And we end on just a long pause as Bella Ramsey emotes an extreme close-up that she is really thinking this over, going back and forth before she finally decides,
Okay.
And we cut to
Good
black
acting, such
into
good acting.
season. This okay was a choice by Ellie. I think she knows that Joel was probably lying to her, or at least not telling the complete truth. And she knows that there will be consequences for that lie someday. But she's mature enough now to know that to step forward and accept a version of reality is just a choice every adult has to make at some point. Previously, her daughterly affection for Joel was something she could just offer with youthful glee and humor. But now she's more of his equal, and she feels the weight that this kind of selfish companionship bears on the rest of the world. She knows the cost of lies, and she feels the danger of love. Okay, on to spoiler corner. If you played part 2 of the games, you know that Doctor is Dr. Jerry Anderson, father of everyone's favorite character, Abby. Ooh, one final spoiler warning. Seriously, if you don't know what happens in part 2 of the game, and you don't want to know, stop watching. Okay, Abby kills. Abby.
Everybody hates Abby.
Up to Joel after Joel saved her ass, and she kills him in front of Ellie to avenge Joel for killing her doctor father. Actually, when Marlene asks Joel what Ellie would decide, it's a valid question because it's Ellie's decision whether or not she wants to give up her life for something. But Marlene asking this was also grounded in a conversation that she has with Dr. Jerry in a flashback in part 2 of the game when Marlene asks if he would be willing to sacrifice his daughter's life, and Abby later tells her dad that she'd be willing to do it. I predict HBO is going to push Mason and Druckmann to do The Last of Us for at least 3 seasons, and at the end of season 2 will be Joel's death. And whoever the cast is Abby, keep that actress off social media because we'll need
they're gonna hate it. They're gonna kill her.
I have
loved breaking down The Last of Us. Killed her in the second game.
Subscribe to her
Everybody hated her.
Dive and support this.
And then you gotta play as her for a while.
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at
like I said, I know people. The last 2 people hated Abby, and the fact you have to play as her. So that's why I was saying in my review. This is kind of spoilers, like you just said. Joel dies very early in the second game. So, but yeah, again, I love this season, love the show. Let me know your thoughts down below. What you thought of the show, the season. Have you played the game? Have you played part 2? What would you rank the show? I still gave it a solid 9. So, but yeah, till next time, guys. Thanks for watching. Hit that like, subscribe button, and I'll see you when I see you. Peace.